thank you for joining me on the Mighty Dragon today. And I have with me a Mighty Dragon regular. This must be your third time or fourth time, Andrew Froening.
Third time, but I'm happy to make it the
Third.
fourth.
Yeah. Well, it feels like 4 times. So, what on earth have you been up to since I last spoke to you?
Oh my goodness. So there's this virus going around.
Yeah,
Uh,
what's that all about?
don't ask my country. We don't believe in science, apparently. Um, no, it's been crazy. My brother actually had it.
Oh my God.
That was a stressful 3 weeks because my mother, I don't think she likes the term elderly, but she's getting up in her years, and she lives with him. And it's been this crazy thing where we're trying to find disinfectant wipes and all these
Yeah.
things to protect them. And I was doing their food shopping for them and dropping it off at the door. And we couldn't see him for 3 weeks. Miraculously, my mother did not catch it, even though they're living under the same roof. And I don't know. Yeah, it's a very scary thing, and nobody quite knows what to think. So
Andrew, was your mum tested for that, or was she
yes,
tested?
she had to
She
go
was.
get a test. And then once my brother tested negative after he had gone through it, she got another test, and then she tested negative.
That's incredible. You can be under the same roof as someone and not contract it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I
And
mean,
how's your
they
brother now?
he's doing a lot better. He's back to work,
Yeah.
and um, he's fine. Thank goodness.
Oh,
But
amazing.
very scary time because this was right after his birthday, and that was the last time I saw him. And I'm like, well, I hope it's not the last time I see him. It's just
Oh my God.
very
Yeah.
scary thing. But all's well here. Knock on wood.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And how has this year affected you as a filmmaker?
Um, I think it's given me a lot of time to think, and I think it's given everybody a lot of time to think about what's really important. We don't have all the time in the world anymore. So, what stories do we really have to tell? You know, what do we want to tell? Just, oh, the fun. Okay, yeah, we've seen it 100 times, but I'd love to do something like that. Or do we want to make something a little more personal, something that truly resonates a bit more, something that's more pertinent? And as we now know, um, time isn't fixed. It's not just going to be like this forever. So you've got to really take a look at what you're writing, what you're making, check your priorities in life as well as career to just
Yeah.
say, what's important? What can I do without? And I think it's been eye opening.
Absolutely. It's been one of those years from hell, I think, that has been delivered to us all, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to the season finale.
Is this going to be like a Dexter ending, though? A fizzle and
Uh,
burn?
you know, I hope not, because I hear they're bringing it back, and that was one of my
Yeah.
favorite shows for a while, which I'm excited because I think they'll give it a better ending. But yeah, I hope we don't get this again.
Well, exactly. But
I
do you
hope
know what?
2020 does not get renewed.
I know we can't be doing with this year again. It's
The
just
viewers don't want it.
no. This really is. It's a terrible year, but it's okay. We're all going to get through it. And I think on New Year's Eve we'll all be celebrating, won't we? All over the world, and hopefully by the end of the year, you never know, there might be a vaccine or something that maybe is in the labs right now being tested that will make
One
all
can
of us
only hope.
live a normal life again. So, but
One of these days.
I'm so glad your brother's okay. That's good to
Yeah,
hear.
thank you. Thank you. How are you? How's everyone on your end?
Yeah, yeah. We've had in my family. It's been quite tough a year this year. We've had 7 bereavements in
Oh,
7 months.
sorry.
And it's just been insane. It's really been insane. So, but just you've got to keep going, haven't you? And this kind of new phase becomes the new norm, doesn't it? And you just learn to adapt. And it's just trying to keep smiling, trying to keep battling through, isn't it, really? and just not really taking life for gratitude or things that you may have done before, you know. And there's certain things I prefer, to be honest. I prefer not commuting on a train to work. I
Yeah.
like working from home. There's other benefits going into a restaurant and there's only like 3 other people in there. you know, so there's things like that, but there's other things I really miss, like the cinema, going to see films, and in that environment. I love doing that, and you know, just seeing my friends and my mates and people, you know. So I don't know. It's trying to get used to this life, and just fingers crossed for a vaccine. Donald Trump has promised a vaccine, but didn't he? He promised one by the end of the year.
Yeah, let's see how that goes.
I don't know where he got that information from, but whoever treated him, I would want, to be honest, because he seemed to be back at it, didn't he, within a day?
I would absolutely love to get the kind of healthcare he did and only pay $750 in taxes. That's my goal.
Incredible, isn't it? Absolutely incredible. Anyway, we've come together today to discuss horror films of the decades.
Hmm.
And as a filmmaker, I would really like your opinion on the films. And if you had to, and you had to select one of those and why, you would say it was the defining one of the decade. And I just pulled out some of the titles from each decade, starting from the 60s, and I went through to the 2010s, I think, on this
Go.
email. The 1960s, I could have started from the 40s, I believe, but I think even I'm not that old. So I think the 60s horror films, yeah, I was kind of getting in, you know, I could go and watch those, you know.
I think that's where modern horror started. A lot of the
exactly
French films from the 40s and things like that, they had the elements, but
yeah
modern horror as we know it, I think, really started with Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho.
exactly, and that was 1960. Psycho, and that's in my list. Rosemary's Baby, 1968, and Night of the Living Dead, 1968. Which one and why?
All good choices. I'm
Yes,
afraid I left a spoiler there. I would have to go with Psycho.
yes,
I've rewatched all those, and to me, Rosemary's Baby, very slow by today's pace. Um, Great movie, but I kept wanting to see more. And horror was in its infancy then. People didn't know what they were seeing. They didn't know what to expect. They didn't have expectations. It was just like, we're not given all the information, and this is making me feel unsettling. But I think the movie that really ushered in horror was Psycho.
yeah,
I just went over the Psycho section in Hitchcock Truffaut, which is an amazing book for filmmakers if you've already gone beyond the beginning. It's a series of talks between Alfred Hitchcock and Francois Truffaut, who is an amazing French filmmaker. And I think he was a critic turned filmmaker. Somebody said, all these critics, they poke holes in everything, but they don't make movies. So he he decided to go make movies, which
yeah,
to the benefit of filmmaking everywhere. And he was a big fan of Hitchcock and learned a lot from him. And they really had some intense discussions, director to director, writer to writer, just about absolutely everything. And it's a big book, and I'm really excited to get further into it. But I skipped ahead to the Psycho section
yeah.
this morning because I knew we were going to talk about it.
Oh, fantastic.
And one of the amazing things to me about Psycho is just the lengths they had to go to make that movie the way it was, and how that model is still alive today in modern horror films. They gave him $800,000 to make an entire movie. He took a television crew and he shot everything the way they would shoot a television show, just really quick, 1 or 2 takes. We got to move, we got to move, we got to move, with the exception of some key scenes. The shower scene took a week. So
Oh, did it? Wow.
Yeah, some of the slower stuff they gave extra days for, but for the most part, he put some of his own money into it to float it, to just say like, listen, this has to be done. I'm willing to put some skin in the game and finance some of this until you see what I have. And it was a black and white movie, which in the 60s they were getting out of black and white, but it was just so effective. And what really strikes me beyond just the filmmaking aspects, I'm sorry, the production, all the producing, you know, all that money talk I just laid out. I hate that stuff. But but what really strikes me was the most violent scene in that movie is the stabbing, right? But after the stabbing, the scariest shot is Marion Crane's eye,
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah,
shower drain into her eye. And to me, that just proves that art is stronger than gore.
yes, yeah, absolutely. I think for me with Psycho and with Jaws is the music was as powerful as the film,
Definitely.
don't you think? And I think out of all of Hitch's films, that was the one that just the music was so brilliant
It's
with
just,
the
it's
story.
iconic, for a good reason. I mean, you still hear high strings, you still hear people like subtly mimicking it. And he just said, I want something that sounds violent.
I
And
think as well, sorry, Andrew.
I think they heard violins and
Yeah, yeah. I think as well, something that the audience were not expecting was that the star was murdered at the start, right? And
definitely.
that was a real shocker, wasn't it?
And I'm a big fan of Hitchcock, and look at the films he had made before then. This is, oh no, there's money to be stolen. They paced that out as slow as could be possible to make you think it's a traditional Hitchcock kind of guilt thing, like, oh no, I've taken this
Yeah.
money, now I've got to escape. Oh no, that is this police
Yes.
officer. He played the audience, here's a violin thing again, like a fiddle,
Yeah.
because he knew what they were expecting. And then when it was time to totally say this is something different, the shower scene, the
Mm.
main character, the lead character, the actress with top billing,
Yes.
dies a third way into the film. And this is the most, for a filmmaker, this still, I'm still trying to process how he did this. Once she dies, you immediately identify with Norman Bates. He's trying to bury the body. He's taking care of his mother. He's trying to cover everything up. And he's burying the character who you were just attached to for 30, maybe 40 minutes up until this point. He's burying her body in the swamp. And then you don't know if the car is going to sink all the way. And you're watching his
Yeah.
face, and he's nervous,
Yeah.
and you're with him.
Yeah.
You're like, oh no, sink. And then you're like, what am I doing? Hitchcock knew how to play the audience, and
Yeah.
that's his achievement.
Just a side question. What's your other favorite Hitchcock film, if you had to name one?
Oh, 39 Steps.
Really?
It is
Oh.
a fantastic one. I like those from that age, and I have so many, and I'm trying to think. 39. I love the spy stuff that he did. He did a lot with Cary Grant that were fun. North by Northwest,
Oh, yeah.
classic. Vertigo, I'm on a bit of a love-hate relationship with. Everybody says, "Oh, this is just so amazing. It's more about the feeling than the plot," and I get the feeling, but I mean, there's got to be some plot too. Yeah, that's one I've constantly been rewatching, and I'm trying to really like get myself into the Vertigo click. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
good. It's good. I don't think it's his best work.
How
But
about Rope?
Rope is a weird one too. I'll tell you, because it was shot like a play,
Yeah.
and I think Hitchcock himself called that. I don't want to say that. It might be wrong. I think he wasn't entirely happy with the end result.
Really? Oh,
Um,
that's interesting.
yeah, it was definitely interesting, and it's just kind of that conceit is there, like the way they hid the cuts. They like, oh, they just go like to someone's Like, oh, here's someone shared, and oh no, it's a new,
Yeah.
which is kind of silly. And my
Yeah.
chair slides down, which is fun. I'm tall again. So yeah, rope was an interesting one, but I also love his kind of like quirky ones, like Family Plot.
Okay.
So he's done so many amazing movies. It's hard to pick just one, but I
Who's a
definitely think
true?
his,
Yeah.
his spy
Who's a
stuff from the 40s, The Man Who Knew Too Much.
yeah. Oh, I love that one.
What was the one that starts off with the skiing, the downhill skiing? Ooh, The Woman Vanishes, maybe?
Oh,
The Lady Vanishes?
The Lady Vanishes. I watched that a while ago,
Yeah,
actually. Yeah,
great. I love those from the 40s
the
because,
really old one.
yeah, they were fresh out of the silent era.
Mm,
And the beauty of silent films is you had to tell everything visually. So they were still using techniques from cinematography techniques to really tell the story from the camera's point of view.
mm.
Not every scene, not every story beat needed dialogue. Whereas today's, it's just like, oh, do you think if we set a bomb off here, we could blow everything up? Oh, well, I don't know if we could blow everything up with that bomb. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
silly stuff where, they could just do it with like a slow push in and a look. Uh,
Mm.
so just from a filmmaking point of view, I really appreciate that stuff because I think that is coming more into play now than ever.
Yeah, cool. Okay, the 1970s, the golden era of horror
Oh,
to
yes.
me, anyway. And there's such a fantastic list. I can't pick, to be honest. Jaws, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Carrie, Halloween, Alien, The Omen, and The Exorcist. Oh my God.
So tough. That was you made that hard.
How could you pick one out of that?
Well, on the email, you did say your favorite. So I'm going to go with the movie I've been watching since I was 3 or 4 years old, which is Jaws.
Yes.
And I used to watch it. I was a kid. I didn't know what a horror movie was. I didn't go to school. I wasn't influenced by friends saying stuff at that point. I was a toddler, and animals were really cool, and dinosaurs and sharks and everything were just the coolest thing around. So I would watch Jaws over and over and over. And there's some scenes in that are just like, the equivalent of a jump scare almost. But they definitely have like the creepiness building up to it. So I have to go with Jaws.
I think Spielberg said that because the shark didn't work for the majority of the time, and it was completely, it just happened that the shark wouldn't work, but it actually created more tension in the script, and it was a much better film because of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I've heard that too. And I actually just got the 4K Blu-ray, and I watched it a couple days ago, which also helped. And they had the making of Jaws, and in that documentary, he kind of says that was his idea all along, which who knows, but
Wow.
but that element definitely helped. And I think they were kind of saying that a lot of the problem with why it took so long, there were issues with the shark because it was fully mechanical, underwater. Big issue was they're shooting on Martha's Vineyard,
Yeah.
and they went 12 miles offshore, and sailboats would come by, and sailboats don't move that fast. So when they saw a sailboat, they'd have to wait 3 hours just sitting on boat. And then they're like, okay, this sailboat's gone. Is another one coming? Yep, another one's coming. All right, well, that's 6 hours
Yeah.
sitting around. Hopefully they shot close-ups at that point, but
Um,
so I
uh,
don't know if that was just like positioning it to sound like they knew what they were doing, which filmmakers do a lot.
I think when I interviewed Philip Noyce about Dead Calm, and I said to him, like with Jaws, it was famous, isn't it? The stories of how they had to wait for everything, and the same thing happened to him out there. It was like Mother Nature was the boss, really, the director, and he was just there, just to try and work his way around that. So
Right.
there's all
And
those different dynamics at sea.
definitely. And there's just something so primal about that story, about stories of predators. Jaws and Alien, which you also mentioned, mankind has no natural predators until you go in the water, and then it's like, oh my
Yeah.
God. And I think it kind of gave sharks a bad rap.
Oh, I know. I love sharks.
I know, I feel bad about it. But, great whites are a protected species right now. Nobody should make soup out of their fins. So,
Well, yeah, I was quite sad. I remember feeling quite sad as a kid when Jaws died. I think Mum must have thought I was a little psycho, but I was like, oh no, he didn't have to die.
well, I've got a funny story about that, because when I was a kid, I think my uncle recorded it off TV for me. And back then, VHS tapes would only go for a maximum of 2 hours. And that movie is like 2 hours and a little over 3 minutes.
I
So
know where this is leading.
the shark would blow up, and then the tape was over. So I watched it 100 times, and when I finally, I think, bought the DVD when I was a teenager, I got to see what happened. And it's like, oh, that guy lived.
Yeah.
He was just hiding.
Spielberg's earlier film, Duel, is it Duel? And it was the same noise as the truck,
Yes.
wasn't it? Than Jaws.
In the documentary, he actually talks about it. He saw Jaws, the way it was described, as Duel Part 2.
Yeah.
So he took the same noise, which is some kind of an animal, and he put it in when the shark's sinking.
Yeah. So amazing.
The truck and the shark make the same noise. It's a tie-in.
Yeah. I still wish Ellen Brody had died, though. That annoying character. She's the most annoying character in film history.
Well, so apparently, I remember getting the book as a kid, and it was maybe a little like too dense for me.
Yeah.
I was maybe in like second grade. It was pretty dense for me, and I never got too far in it. But apparently, there was a whole subplot with Ellen Brody and Matt Hooper having an affair, which is like,
I knew it.
It's so strange. Yeah, there's the one scene where they're at dinner where he first really meets her in the movie, but it seems like there's some kind of weird sexual tension going on there. So I don't know if they were trying to keep it in or what, but the actress really hated that she didn't have a sex scene with Richard Dreyfuss. Go figure.
Wow. I knew she was up to no good, that woman. What was your favorite scene from Jaws?
Oh my goodness.
How could you pick?
I really like the chase scene with shooting the barrel, the first shooting the barrel. The score really picks up. It's an adventure movie at that point. It's like you've maybe seen the shark's head like once.
Yes.
So you just have an idea like, oh my God, this thing's kind of big and scary, but what's it really going to do? And then you gradually kind of see that, oh, okay, well, everything that we were doing, we thought we were going to bring this shark down. He's evading us. He's stronger and he's bigger, and he's able to pull those barrels that we were going to use to keep him on the surface and tracking underwater. And then there's this brilliant scene where the score and the pace just slows down, and it's sunset, and they're all just on the boat, and they're just swaying and just silence.
Yeah.
And then they go into my second favorite scene, which is the USS Indianapolis monologue.
Brilliant.
That gives me chills every time.
Oh my gosh, incredible speech. Right, and delivered by such a great actor.
While drunk.
Of course, like all the old British actors, they were always drunk, weren't they?
That's the way to do it. You want to be emotional? Well, you better get a couple pints in you.
Yeah. Takes me one Prosecco these days. Right, on to the 80s.
Okay.
Now, this is when I was a kid, so I was kind of quite aware of things. And I think I'm probably a bit older than you, I would say, but not by too much, possibly. The Poltergeist actually, The Shining, The Thing, and The Fly.
Now, this one was hard for me because I love every single one of those movies that you just said, and I watched them all as a kid, with the exception of Poltergeist. I think I only found that out as a teenager, but just fantastic movie.
Yeah,
Really well done. I have to go with The Thing, and this is
Yeah.
again, a personal favorite. It's cosmic horror done well. Like cosmic horror is so hard to pull off. There's just the fear of the unknown, and there's something bigger than us, and it's going to come crashing down, and humans have no control over it. So this was really the fight against the unknown, and I think for the time, um, getting to the end of the Cold War, there was people knew about spies. People knew like, can I trust this person? Um, yeah, serial killers. They had been around for a while, but it was kind of coming into homes. Um, um, Jeffrey Dahmer and all that.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
can be trust. So it was a real sign of the times movie, but the practical effects. It still has one of the biggest scares for me that gets me every time, the blood test. It's perfectly timed. You don't see it coming, even on repeat viewings. You might know it's coming, but you're so into the conversation, and then gets me every time.
Brilliant. So
Well
the thing for you there, Poltergeist, I watched quite a few times. The Shining. Wow.
yeah, it was a hard pick between those two.
Oh.
It really was. It really was, and
Yeah.
I picked The Thing because I think I don't know. I don't know. Was it more of a sleeper hit? I mean, The Shining just gets all the praise, and I love it. It's so great for other reasons. Stanley Kubrick is just a master, and he totally took
Yes.
Stephen King's idea and he adapted it. That's what he did. He made his own stories from um, from previous work. He was not content with, I'm just gonna. I read this. It was great. He really wanted to tell his own story.
Yeah. That's quite a difficult list, isn't it? So we're heading into the 90s now, and we've got Scream, we've got the Blair Witch Project, Candyman, and Silence of the Lambs.
All good ones. Although I will say, I've not seen the Blair Witch Project. I remember, I remember when it came out, everybody's like, "Oh, you gotta watch it. It's just someone holding the camera and running around the woods." It's like, well,
Yeah.
I could make that movie. But I don't know. It's just I don't know if it's still like a teen like thing. It just kind of stuck with me. Like, yeah, I don't need to see that, but I probably should see it at some time. And now I will. Now I've committed to seeing it. So
Yes.
by the next Halloween, you'll have to call me out.
Okay, definitely.
I think I'll have to go with Silence of the Lambs
Right.
for a reason, and I think there is kind of like a through line with these movies I'm picking, in that they all kind of base horror around another genre, and this is kind of like the police procedural, FBI drama, hunt for a serial killer, which could just be Al Pacino running around yelling at people. But Silence of the Lambs really took the other approach of bringing a female lead in and really just having everyone be extremely misogynistic to her.
Yeah.
And it was something that, to be honest, as a teenager, I didn't really pick up on. But then as an adult, I'm looking at some of the shot compositions where she's just in the beginning, after she runs the obstacle course by herself, she
Yes.
goes into the elevator and there's all these big guys like surrounding her. Then they're like looking at her like really mean. And I didn't pick up on that for a long time. And a lot of the people she talks to, like they'll have a close up and they'll stare right into the lens. And then her reverse shot is more of like the traditional, just kind of looking this way. So I think there was a really well done subliminal camera work to really carry that across.
Yeah. I think I did really enjoy that film myself. And was it James Gum, wasn't it? Was the Gum, wasn't it? James Gum or something like that, wasn't it? James without the S or something like that. James Gum, something like that. The actor who played him was just terrific.
Oh, which character are we talking about?
Sorry, the actual serial killer in it. James Gum, something like that.
Oh, Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, but his real name was something like that, and that's the one thing I remember from the film.
Why am I?
He had A
Yeah,
really unusual name.
yeah, it's not coming to me. But yeah, just so creepy. And the thing to me was that all right, so you've got a female in a male dominated field hunting a man who hates women. You know,
Yeah.
it couldn't be like, it couldn't hit me on the head harder if I tried.
Yeah.
But but he's like, yeah, what he does is terrifying. But the thing that's even more terrifying is behind the scenes, you've got Hannibal Lecter playing both of them. There's so much evidence in that movie that Hannibal is egging on and is really the teacher of Buffalo Bill. They're writing letters to each other, and he knows about his personal life, and he's probably encouraging him to try this or do this, or you'll get caught. But then he also finds Clarice very interesting, and he's almost like, it's almost like he's playing a chess game by himself with these two people, which there's a lot of layers to that movie that I really appreciate.
Fantastic. Yeah, good choice. Oh, yeah, although I must admit, the Blair Witch Project gets it for me. I,
I'll have to see it then.
yeah, I was one of those people who were like, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" Even though it was a very simple film,
It's
to
a
be honest.
fantastic idea. It really
Yeah,
is. To
and
make
it was
it's
so
the
good.
it's the psycho thing, right? Oh, we don't have a lot of money. Well, I guess we're just gonna have to be creative and make something
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. And I think for the 2000s, I seem to have dropped off the earth really, because there's only one that I watched out of the mist, the others, and 28 days later. Only three titles.
Yeah, that was, I think that was an era where they were, there was either a lapse in horror or there was just a lot of bad regurgitated ideas.
Yeah.
And 28 days later really kind of brought the whole zombie thing back. I think,
Yes. Yeah.
with with just a passion and a power. But to me, it has to be The Mist, a
Okay.
big sleeper hit. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. I will go and see it.
Oh, and then I can't do spoilers, which will be good because this is a horror movie that I think people, especially today, in today's social and political climate, should watch. It's a movie about small town in Maine, based on a Stephen King short story. So of course it's in Maine, and there's a power outage. They've got to go into town, and everybody in town gets together at this. It's like a shopping food store, and it's just everybody in town. There's out of towners. There's everybody, and everybody is really just so shitty to each other. Here's all these people in this terrible situation, and there's so many themes at play. Leadership, and are these people making the right decision, or are people just following them because they are the first to speak up? Is it just something that, me as a scared individual, do I want to latch on to a group and follow these people, or do I kind of oppose one thing that they're saying, and then someone else twists it around so that I just hate them entirely? And they're trapped in this food store, and there's real crazy cosmic horror going on all around them, and they're just fighting with themselves. Humanity is on trial here. Humanity
Yeah.
is really the enemy. All our fears and insecurities, and just the way we want to latch on to things, and we want to feel like we're in charge, and we want to feel empowered, but just to have that turned on its head.
I'll definitely watch that.
Just say a little bit about the ending of that. He wanted to do a different ending than the Stephen King book,
Like
and
they all do.
and
Right?
the studio told them, okay, well, you can do the ending you wrote, and we'll take big chunk of the budget off, or you can do the end that's in the book, which is kind of like your standard horror ending, and you can have a higher budget. And he chose to stick Frank Darabont, the director. He directed Shawshank Redemption and Walking Dead, first
Yeah.
seasons. So, if that's not indication enough, check it out.
Yeah.
He stuck with his guns and says, this is the ending to the story. This is the story I'm making. And they made it for a little bit of a less budget, but it's so good. Like
Brilliant.
it's there are no words. There really are no words. That ending is all time top 10, top
So
5.
this is your choice.
That's my choice for the
Yeah.
2000s.
Okay. The 2010s. Get Out, It Follows, The Conjuring, Hereditary, It, The Witch, You're Next, Kill List, and A Quiet Place. It's quite a lot there, right?
There's a few. There are quite a few, and if we're talking about like defining horror of that decade, I'm gonna have to throw something else into the mix.
Go on.
The Haunting of Hill House,
Oh,
which is
of
on.
course.
It's not a movie, but it brilliantly subverts, builds upon, deconstructs every horror before it. It's a haunted
Brilliant.
house film that follows actual characters that you care about,
Yeah.
characters that are three-dimensional. There's a family setting. It's all about relationships, and just whatever's so terrifying about it is the human aspects. And not to give anything away, but at the end, it really hits hard.
There's a new one, right, on Netflix now.
Yeah, 2018, so 2 years ago, and I think they just came out with The Haunting of Bly Manor, which is like a
Yeah.
second season, different place, set in England, I
Yeah.
believe, and same character, same like actors. So they're
Mm.
doing the American Horror Story route, and I haven't
Yeah.
checked out that one. Honestly, my wife and I have been watching like an episode or two of Hill House to catch up, and we watched the last 5 last night.
Right.
We watched over 5 hours.
Oh my God.
It's that good. I can't recommend it enough. I slept on it for 2 years. Everybody told me about it. I'm like, a hard TV show, But I really think where film is going is the longer format. To me, it's more like a book. It's more like a novel where I get to live with these characters. I get to see what they're about. I get to care about them. I don't just want to see, oh yeah, here's a pretty girl. Oh no, she's running away. Oh no, she's gonna get murdered because she sinned.
Mm.
Right? That's the
Yeah.
whole thing. Like, oh yeah, if you have sex and you're a teenager, oh you got the knife or the chainsaw or
Yeah.
the whatever. And this, I think, brilliantly deconstructs that to make the sinners people you care about, and to say it's okay. All humans,
Yeah.
we're not perfect. We all sin.
Yeah.
Not that it's religious or anything like that, but
Yeah.
that's that's kind of the evolution of it. It's very much for today's audiences.
So that is your choice for the 2010s.
It is, and I know I kind of threw that out of left field, so I want to ask you, what is your favorite horror movie of the last 10 years?
Of the last 10 years, yes. Now this quite surprised me when I sat and thought about this earlier. And I'm going to have to say it was It. And the reason being is because I'm such a huge fan of the original series. Tim Curry, to me, oh my God, the way he played Pennywise was just, sticks with you now, doesn't it? The fear of that clown, right? And I thought they did such a good job with that film. And I felt the actor who played Pennywise in this updated one did such a good job of it. Yeah, and he wasn't a Tim Curry ripoff. He just did it how he wanted to do it, and I think they really did a great job on it. And I was so impressed by that. That's why I've selected that one, because to me it was like remaking Jaws, right?
Yeah, right. That's a good choice.
Right. And I was just like really disappointed when I first heard they were doing this. And I was like, I am not watching that film. I'm not watching it. I'm just not doing it. And I found myself watching it. And I was pleasantly surprised. Also, actually, I don't know if it was in the last 10 years. It's much older than that. Hostel, that still remains one of my favorites.
Yeah, that definitely came out of left field, didn't it?
Yeah, I thought that was great, honestly. And it's kind of, you know, when my daughter wants to go traveling through Europe, I'll just be petrified. I keep her locked in a cupboard here or something.
You've seen Eli Roth's latest, The Green Inferno. Have you seen that?
No, not yet.
Yeah, it's like a similar thing with like a tribe, an undiscovered tribe in South
Yeah,
America. It's
yeah.
just wild in the same ways.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, I've got one last question for you. Actually, if you had to choose to be a director of John Carpenter or Alfred Hitchcock, who would you choose if you could just live that moment as one of
Oh,
those?
okay, that's tough
Mm,
because my gut says Hitchcock.
mm,
But if I think about everything that they went through and all the BS that they faced, I think I'd much rather go John Carpenter because he made stuff for small amounts of money,
yeah.
small budgets, and he made some iconic stuff. And he did the music himself too, which is
Yeah.
really.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
What?
he owned the synthesizer and everything. He's got his own concerts. Like he'll go around and he'll play his own music and music from
Oh
the
my
film.
God.
Yeah, sold out crowds. He's definitely a man of many talents.
I think he's incredible. And as much as an impact that Alfred Hitchcock made, I do agree with you. John Carpenter has made so many fantastic films, and
And
it
so
was just,
varied,
yeah,
really. Like he's got vampires. He's got um, the thing, which is Antarctica, Halloween, which is a very basic down to earth thing. They spray painted a William Shatner mask from
yeah.
Star Trek, from Michael Myers. It's like, how more creative do you have to get with a small budget? I think those are just the happy accidents that occur to really make.
Fantastic. Andrew, what do you have coming up?
Oh, thank you for asking. Uh,
Yes.
I have a film coming out Halloween. It's something we actually shot 2 years ago, and I slept on it for a little bit because I wasn't quite sure about the direction I wanted to go, and I finally said, you know what, 2020 is a sucky year, so let me just put something out there to make everybody, I don't know, to just put some enjoyment out there in the world.
Yeah.
Because I think an important thing that filmmakers have to take away is that something doesn't have to be perfect for you to share it and for you to learn from it and get feedback from it.
Okay.
And this film is called The Servant's Birth, and it's set in the year 1900, the turn of the last century, and a handmaid is doing chores while her mistress gives birth. And then the whole thing is, okay, well, why isn't she helping her? Why isn't she in the room? So it's a very kind of, I give people 2+2, and I hope that they get 4.
Right. Okay. Well,
So
where can we see
we're gonna
this?
see what it adds up to. You're going to be able to see it on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Fro video.
Yeah.
And I just really hope everybody enjoys it. It's going to come out on Halloween night.
Great.
And check it out. Please let me know what you think. Leave a
I
comment.
will. I'm going to review it. I will review it on my blog. That's the Fourth Row show on the Mighty Dragon.
Yes.
Absolutely. Oh, great. Best of luck with that.
Thanks so much.
And it's
Also,
great to have a horror film there.
yeah. You know what? I figured, Halloween's coming up. I have like 2 months. I got to finish this thing. I got to get it out. I'm going to visual effects right now, kind of like Invisible stuff. There's actually not a lot, but there's, we shot in a place that looks moderately period. So we have to go in and remove outlets. we have to go in. There were like speakers mounted to the ceiling. I'm like, oh no, how are we gonna do this? Anytime you get close to a window, it's like, okay, well, there's a street light out there, so trying to do like tiny adjustments to really sell it. So I hope
Brilliant.
it across. Enjoy.
Yes, I will. No doubt enjoy that one. Thank you for joining me today, and a little bit earlier than we planned. So that was really, really appreciated, Andrew. And nice to see you again.
You too. All
And
pleasure.
wishing you all the best for the rest of the year too. And stay safe, happy, and well. Okay.
You as well. Take care. Had a lot of fun.
See you. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Big thank you to Andrew Froening for joining me today on The Mighty Dragon. Happy Halloween!